Welcome to Dear Diaspora, a podcast celebrating the African diaspora and the changemakers, innovators, and entrepreneurs working to make our world a better one to live in. I'm your host, Ndulwa Kowa. Let's get started. So before I introduce the next guest, don't forget to leave a review, subscribe, and rate on Apple Podcasts. It makes a huge difference, and one key way that it does that is people are more likely to check out an episode or two if they see that there are ratings and if they see that people are actually listening to the content and enjoying the content. And one way to show that you enjoy the content is by leaving a review. So for everyone that's left a review, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And if you are listening on any other podcast listening platform, please make sure you follow the podcast so you're notified each Sunday when new episodes come out. And lastly, if you're listening on Spotify, you can actually share the podcast that you listen to on Instagram stories, just like you would a song. So if you're listening to Dear Diaspora on Spotify, you can share that in your Insta stories and I will repost. So of course, tag Dear Diaspora and I will repost, and really appreciate you spreading the word about the podcast. Dear Diaspora fam, thank you so much for tuning into episode 38 of the show. I hope that you are all well and safe. This has certainly been a tough week, and as I'm recording this, people in the United States and around the world are marching through the streets and calling attention to the murder of George Floyd. May his soul rest in peace, in addition to countless others who've been unjustly murdered by the police. It really just makes you it's infuriating, and it makes you wonder, when will this end? When will the senseless killing of unarmed black men and women stop? And when are we finally going to start holding these corrupt and racist police officers accountable? It's just maddening, and I really hope that we continue to speak up and do all that we can to bring attention to these injustices. And if you are an ally, you are, a non-black person, and you are witnessing all of this, I hope that you are doing even more to call these things out and to advocate on behalf of folks who don't have as much privilege and as much power as you do. I encourage you all to continue to speak up and stay safe and do everything that you can to keep you and your loved ones safe. For today's episode, I had the pleasure of interviewing Shola Salako. He is the founder and CEO of BomaLink. BomaLink is a global business community and professional networking platform and service that connects members with African opportunities in Africa. During the conversation, we chatted about Shola's upbringing, and what was really interesting about his story was that his parents actually came to the U.S. for school, and he was born in the U.S., but then he actually ended up going back to Nigeria with his family. And he walks us through his experience going to boarding school in Nigeria and really just coming of age and learning about himself and learning about where he was from. And, after he came back, he developed an interest in technology. And fast forward to today, Shola is the CEO of Optimal Business Systems, an IT solutions provider that's based in Michigan. And they offer a wide range of IT services. And so tune in to hear more about Shola's story, his journey as an entrepreneur, and his grand vision to make BomaLink the central marketplace for opportunities, resources, cross-continental partnerships, and beyond. Without further ado, here is our conversation. Shola, thank you so much for being a guest on Dear Diaspora. I'm so excited to have you.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Absolutely. I look forward to learning more about all the great work that you are doing. So let's get started by just getting to know you a bit more. Where did you grow up and where are you from?
Yes, I am from the West African country of Nigeria. I was actually born and raised in Buffalo, New York. My parents actually were Nigerian students in New York, and they were awarded scholarships from the Nigerian government. And they had me and my younger brother in Buffalo. So I formed the early formative years of my life in the U.S. And then we moved to Nigeria when my parents finished school. And I formed the second part of my formative years in Nigeria, in Africa, where I really, really got to know more about my roots, more about where I come from, how things came to be in my family, and my ancestors as well.
Wow, that is fascinating. And so, could you share a bit more about what it was like to go to school in Nigeria?
Oh, wow. I would say that's really a very deep question, deeply personal, because going to school in Nigeria was actually part of the phase of my life that really defined my character. It helped to shape my strong resilience, determination, and commitment towards success. So when we moved to Nigeria, my parents struggled a little bit, trying to settle down and, getting jobs and things like that, setting up businesses. But then my brother and I were sent to boarding school because, we could get some more dedicated focus for education. And it gave my parents some time to focus on building their lives and expanding it as well. So to really touch on the subject of going to school in Nigeria, boarding school was very, very alien and foreign to me. I had the impression that a child is meant to grow up with their parents and learn from them and grow together. But then I was sent away. I was 11 years old, sent away to the middle of nowhere in this tiny little town in West Nigeria, Federal Government College of Boma. And I must say it was one of the darkest periods of my life because I was disconnected from family. I was not very familiar with the Nigerian culture, tradition, but it was a good opportunity to learn new languages and meet people from different ethnic groups, different tribal and different dialects. So it was a great exposure. And then it also taught me how to fend for myself. It taught me how to take care of myself. For the first time in my life, I did, I did my own laundry. I I had to, I had to take care of myself. If I had to eat, I had to do something. There was no one, no mom to tell me to come get my food or remind me to eat. If I do not obey that bell, I'm gonna miss my meal. So I grew up with some amazing friends that I connected with during that time, 6 years in boarding school. And some of these guys are my best friends to this very day. We still hold each other very accountable. We keep in touch and we continuously push the boundaries towards higher levels of success. So I would also say going to school in Africa was also a great gift for me. It opened my eyes to a different reality. And Ndu, I must tell you, that was the first time that I also experienced real hunger. Not having food and the luxuries we take for granted here in America or in other developed countries. I saw firsthand in boarding school what it's like to not have food, not have enough. And it actually is the reason why I formed my nonprofit, Agents of Hope, about 8 years ago, to help people who have hopes and dreams and connect them with the help and guidance that they need.
So when did you come back to the US and what did you study in school?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. Yes, I came back to the United States, to Detroit specifically, in November of 1997. So after high school in Nigeria and after a couple of years of college, I was supposed to be a doctor. Just like every African parents, they will like a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer. And I was meant to continue my education here in Detroit as a pre-med student. But then something really amazing happened, and my roommate bought a computer, and he asked me for help to put it together, and I just followed the instructions and assembled the keyboard, mouse. It was a Gateway computer from the late 90s. And that was a monumental part of my history where, for the first time, I had direct access to a computer. And I spent so much time studying it and learning and surfing the web. This was back in the era of AOL. This was pre-Google, pre-Facebook, and social media, actually. And I literally taught myself how to write code, how to
Wow.
create websites. It forced a lot of interesting innovation, and that was a turning period of my life, which changed my direction from the medical line to technology. One thing I noticed when I was studying pre-med and the medical sciences in Nigeria was we didn't create the human body. A creator bigger than us did this, and we're still learning. We're still catching up to figure out how this body works. But computers and technology, we have the opportunity to set and determine how it should work and create these things, which was part of the beauty I saw in technology, the beauty of writing software and telling it exactly what I needed it to do and how it should do it. And it does it super fast and very efficiently. And I really fell in love with that. So I switched my major to information technology. I have a bachelor's degree in information technology, and I went further and attained a dual master's in information systems and management. And as part of that, I did a lot of computer certifications with Microsoft, with Dell, CompTIA, and it made me very, very knowledgeable and highly skilled in my profession.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That's so impressive. Definitely glad you said your roommate was able to, get that computer
Yeah.
and spark that interest. And so
Yes.
when did your, like after you went through school and, studied IT, when did
Mhm.
you start to kind of think about creating like a business
Oh, that's
around it?
great. That's a beautiful question. Yes. Business. So yes, before business, I've always been a high achiever in my career. I'm always striving to achieve more and solve more problems at my jobs for various businesses, various entities, until my son was born. So when my son was born, something really, really interesting happened in my life, and um, for the first time in my life, I realized that I had to really, really pay attention and take care of another human being. This human being came into this world, my son, Shayo, and he's relying on me. He's counting on me to tell him, about this world. How does this world work? What is the sky? What are clouds? What is grass? Why is it green? And my biggest desire was to be as present for him as possible, to not miss anything, to be there to guide him through this process. And for that first time, I realized that I really didn't know it all. And I realized that also that my job took a lot of my time because I was really, really vested in my career, very involved in many things. And I realized that the real way to get freedom is to gain a significant amount of financial security and time freedom, which comes from leverage, time leverage, money leverage. And that inspired me to seriously consider business. I had been unconsciously doing business, but I just didn't know it. I always will hire freelancers to write little snippets of code here and there while I oversee the ultimate project. But then with the birth of my son, that really forced me to define some structure around it. And because I really wanted to be free from the day-to-day stuff, I really wanted to spend time. All I wanted to do was just sit down and carry my son and rock him and just listen to him and just, you know, read to him, talk to him. And that was how it really, really started for me. And with that, more kept coming. I started to solve more problems for various clients, Fortune 500 clients like General Motors, Ford, Chrysler. You know, this is an automotive capital of the world here in Detroit. And then that expanded to many other things. But at the core of it was really technology and leverage. You know, finding people who are passionate about technology and finding people who needed problems solved for them and connecting it. That's really at the core of what entrepreneurship is really all about, you know, making the sacrifice to connect people, connect resources, and solve problems that will benefit as many people as possible.
And so when did you decide to create BomaLink? And could you share a bit more about BomaLink?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So my core business is Optimal Business Systems. We are a custom software development company, and we've been running this for over 16 years now. But BomaLink came as an offshoot to that. So about a year ago, I met this amazing leader, amazing woman by the name of Dr. Arikana Chihombori Kwao. She's a former ambassador to the African Union, to the U.S., and she visited Detroit, Michigan. And a good friend of mine by the name of Akindele Akinyemi, he's the president of the Global African Business Association. He had invited me to come listen to her speak and meet her, and we had dinner. It was fantastic. But I was blown away about her knowledge and the depth of her experience around the causes of Africa, the plight of Africa, and opportunities around Africa, in Africa, to connect everyone of African descent to these great opportunities. And I just literally went to her and asked her that, look, I really, really, really am passionate about Africa. I grew up in Africa, and I would definitely love to help her in her cause. And at that point, we determined what she really needed was a way to stay in touch and stay engaged with her audience and her followers. And as an IT consultant, I typically will want to go deep and really understand what problems we're solving. And that started a series of travel across Africa. As part of that, I attended a number of conferences organized by the former president of Nigeria, President Olusegun Obasanjo, the Mr. Aliko Dangote, one of the richest Africans on the continent. This conference is called the Afro Champions Boma. And that was the first time I heard the word Boma. You know, a Boma is a gathering. So these conferences are a gathering of the brightest and the most intellectual people across Africa, just a room full of them, 50 to 80 people, to determine the resources, the needs of Africa, and also strategy around the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which was signed back in July of last year. So we met in various countries and cities in Africa. I went to Kenya, went to Ghana, Rwanda. There's another one coming up soon. I believe that's supposed to be in Senegal, but it really opened my eyes and do about the beauty of Africa and the kind humility of the African people, the great spirit of hospitality and love. And I felt that everyone of African descent, everyone across the world needs to see this and connect with this. And then the vision of BomaLink became much more clearer to me. And I started working on it, put my team and my resources from Optimal Business Systems to work. And it evolved into what it is right now. I've heard people call it the LinkedIn of Africa. I've heard it called different things, but that word Boma actually came from my first visit to Nairobi, Kenya, where that conference where I met the president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, and these other former presidents, including our host, Raila Odinga, the former prime minister of Kenya. It was a really amazing meeting. And I really feel I can never be more proud to be an African. Africa is rising. African is the place to be. We have tremendous opportunity. We have the expertise and the resources across the world to build the Africa that we really envision for our future generations and the greatest overall good for our people. So that's really, in a nutshell, how BomaLink came to be. And we just recently launched. We launched in February, and we're pushing along and moving forward with our plan to get this in the hands of everyone so that we can connect them with opportunities in Africa.
So for people that are interested in signing up for BomaLink, what all can they do once they are signed on?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. Yes. Once you sign up, go to bomalink.com, create an account similar to like most social media platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. What you can do, there are two things. You can connect with like-minded people who are looking to accomplish similar things. You can collaborate, form associations, form even business partnerships. There are lots of really, really brilliant people on the platform. And as you already know, Ndu, Africans are one of the most educated groups of people on the planet. And you get to connect with lots of them on BomaLink. Secondly, you get to see what types of opportunities exist in Africa. These could be business opportunities, opportunities to execute contracts, or for those of us looking to go back to the continent and even live there, there are also great job opportunities. And we have the skill sets, we have the knowledge and expertise to execute these things. And we're really, I mean, if I really must share with you and do I believe part of my destiny is to bring back our African brothers and sisters who have been removed from the continent hundreds of years ago. My destiny is bringing them back to reclaim a piece of their inheritance. I see no reason why our African American brothers and sisters shouldn't have African citizenships. These are the kind of things, this is the kind of causes I want to drive with the leaders of Africa, to set aside various opportunities, set aside contracts, even land and property for our brothers and sisters. It's very important. So these are the kind of things that we could share awareness on and connect with one another so that we could make the Africa that we truly believe in.
Wow. That's amazing. I definitely love what you're doing. I signed up for I created like a profile. I just need to go in and
Oh, cool.
actually update it.
Awesome. Awesome.
So I can
Very
start
nice.
connecting with people. So that's really cool. And
Nice.
so what are your goals for BomaLink? Like how many users do you want to have, let's say, by the end of the year?
We're targeting at least 1 million users by the end of 2020, and we want to increase by at least 25 to 50% year after year. There will be an exponential growth. We just don't know exactly when. We're targeting roughly mid of 2021. We have
Wow.
a comprehensive plan in the works around this. We're reaching out to various organizations like the Greek fraternities, the Divine Nine, the various Black organizations in America and in other parts of the world, just to share the awareness of what's happening and getting them on board so that we have a great collection, a great unifying force to demand what needs to happen in Africa, and also to come back home to Africa to invest in it, to improve tourism in Africa, and also to really come home. We really just want to come home and have a little piece of our homeland. My dream is to see my friends, brothers, and sisters here to have vacation homes in Africa if they don't plan on moving back there anytime soon. But it should be a destination to go once a year. They should really connect their children to our great culture, learn some languages, from our ancestry, and really connect to what it is to be an African. It's this tremendous beauty in it. It's one of the greatest things I'm thankful to my parents about moving to Nigeria. I initially resented it. I hated it. But now I'm very, very thankful that I actually grew up in Africa.
Certainly. Wow. Yeah, I mean, because your perspective just completely, changed, and you
Oh,
probably wouldn't
yes.
be where you are right now if you hadn't gone through, that experience.
Absolutely. Oh, yes. I totally agree. Yes.
Wow. And so I'm curious. So, like, you want to get, a million people on the platform. Like, how else are you, how are you going to get people on the continent on the platform?
Absolutely. That's a fantastic question. So, yes, we have a number of teams right now in Africa. We started with Ghana and then expanded to Kenya. It's really about awareness and do. Africans are the most hospitable people in the world. And just the mere knowledge or awareness that they can connect with their distant brothers and sisters on other continents really excites them. Actually, currently we have, I would say, about 45% of our BomaLink members are on the continent of Africa right now, and they're passionately spreading the word around it. So we have people locally in each country to represent and be the spokespersons and faces of BomaLink in these countries. But also on the highest levels, we're working with the African Union and the leaders of each African country to identify the various opportunities in their countries, mostly working with contract officers who manage these types of things and doing some kind of exports into the BomaLink platform. That's still a work in progress, but I'll definitely like to let our members know to watch out for a massive explosion of opportunities on the platform. We have meetings every day about these things, but I'm really, really excited about what's coming. And once all these things are in place, this would be probably the most sought after place to be. And I'm really thankful to you, Ndu, that you have an account and profile on the platform, because you are automatically one of our founding members, and these members are going to be rewarded with a badge, a founding member badge. Can you imagine LinkedIn when it started back in 2002 or so, where the first, say, 5,000 members had this special icon or logo saying that they were part of the founders, the beginners of this great movement. That's really what I'm trying to also accomplish for our initial members. But the excitement is very, very high, very, very strong. There's this major buzz right now on the continent. Honestly, it scares me. It actually scares me. It keeps me up at night sometimes, like just thinking like, wow, we started this thing. We just kept going day after day. And we've really ignited an interesting movement on the continent. And there's a lot more to come. And really, again, thankful that you're a part of this and do.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, happy to be a part of it and happy to, get the word out and hopefully, let's get to a million users by the end of the year. This
Absolutely.
is super powerful and I can't wait to see it grow. And so what would you say is like the biggest lesson you've learned like as as an entrepreneur and then as you've been working on BomaLink?
Yes, BomaLink has only been about a year now. It's been quite an exciting journey, but as an entrepreneur overall, many years being a business person, a problem solver, and of course an entrepreneur. My biggest lesson is two things. One, vision. Clarity of vision is very, very important and do. I believe that if you can see it in your mind, whatever that vision is, you can eventually hold it in your hand. There's no reason why you should give up. It's a matter of strong belief, strong commitment, and dedication to your goal and your vision. That's one thing. The second part of it is relentless determination. You may not see the outcome right away, but you just have to take the steps that you're given for that day. And all these steps will eventually add up to the manifested product at the end. And you will look back and pat yourself in the back. You will be proud. You will smile. You will be happy that you stayed on course and never gave up. Challenges are going to come up. Issues are going to spring up. I mean, we've had countless amounts of hours and days where things didn't go right. Issues with software, issues with various technology conflicts and platforms. But we kept going. We kept going and researching and investigating and troubleshooting, debugging. These things take a toll, but the reward is when you stick with it and see this vision come to pass. So in essence, my biggest lesson as an entrepreneur is clarity of vision, staying with it, which really is a matter of knowing who you are. Being an entrepreneur will force you to know who you really are and what you're made of. And if you're humble enough to accept who you are, you will definitely see areas you need to work more on, areas you need to improve on, what skills you need to learn, what books you need to read. And it will keep you teachable and keep you open to mentorship, to guidance from people, because you can never know everything. You have to remain teachable for really the rest of your life. But it's been quite an interesting journey. There are days really that they can be really depressing, really challenging, but I'm thankful for those things. It's part of the things I learned from boarding school, from an early period in my life. It always passes. Everything will always pass. No matter how bad it gets, no matter how good it gets, it will pass. It could pass to something better or it could pass to something worse. But the key is stick with it and do what you need to do every day.
Man, thank you for that. That was, I feel much more like motivated now. And I feel like, yes, like even if you don't see, immediate results, you just have to keep going because it's going to be worth it if you are, very clear on, who you
Yes,
are and what you want to accomplish. So definitely appreciate that
absolutely.
advice. And so what would you say your grand vision for BomaLink is? Like, let's say 5 years or 10 years down the road, what what would you like it to look like?
Okay, fantastic question. 5 years down the road, and do my grand vision for BomaLink is to be the central marketplace for opportunities, for resources, for connecting experts with one another, for forming partnerships, for forming great friendships that will last many lifetimes, generational lifetimes. That's my long-term vision. But also, I'm going to share this for the first time secretly. My bigger vision also is to help showcase Africa in a great light, in the sense that right now you see countries like India, countries in Asia, being great exporters of technology, of software development skills and resources. I know Africa has tremendous opportunity to do the same and surpass that.
Mm.
My goal is to make BomaLink like the IBM of Africa, where any company in the world, any country in the world can come to Africa and request the best of the best, our skills, and we could create tremendous exports regardless of location in the continent, and not heavily depend on just natural resources like oil and gold and diamonds. And those things are eventually going to be obsolete. I mean, look at cars, for instance. I mean, we're not going to need oil as much as we think we will need it many years to come. We have electric cars now. Look at gold and diamond. I mean, there's certain things that are much more valuable, and I think our most valuable asset in Africa is human capital.
Mm.
And training our young people in Africa, training them and giving them the knowledge, the skills, and most importantly, the mentorship will help them get on the path towards great success. And they can share their skills and talents with not just in their local towns or villages or cities, but with any buyer across the planet. That's my long term vision for BomaLink. It's definitely to become a major broker of human capital across the planet.
Wow. I mean, that's an amazing vision. What will it take for that to realize? Like, who else do you need on board? Like, do you need governments on board?
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. So then that's part of the initiatives we're currently working on, is working with each government in Africa to identify what types of opportunities are needed, so that the experts in the diaspora or on the continent could identify and be matched to those opportunities. That's really just phase one. Phase two would be the opposite direction, where we find opportunities in other countries, especially here in America, and then matching those opportunities with remote talents in Africa. This pandemic, this virus has proven to us that it's very key to realize the gifts we have with technology, being able to function and work from any part of the world, just like we're doing right now with this interview. I'm here in Michigan and having this interview with you over the internet. We can accomplish a lot more, and it's a matter of reversing the trajectory and the directions for Africa, where hopefully for the first time we export more than we import. Right now, Africans are probably the highest consumers on the planet. I really feel we have tremendous potential to reverse that by exporting our what we produce, and making Africa really the greatest place to be in the world. And I see that happening very soon, and we'll keep pushing towards that. So to answer your question, though, working with governments in Africa and also working with corporations here in America, in Europe, in Asia, to identify needs, to identify opportunities, and connecting them with talents in Africa.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I love that so much because that's something that I'm passionate about.
Very nice.
Finding ways to, connect our young people, especially to opportunities, because there's no shortage of, talented young people. It's just that they
Yes,
don't have access to, the same opportunities.
absolutely.
So definitely looking forward to following BomaLink and being a part of it and just learning more, and hopefully I can continue to contribute in any way that I can
Oh,
because
thank you.
this is definitely important. Yeah,
Yes, it
so
is.
super glad you guys are doing what you're doing. And so let's end with what excites you about Africa's future?
Wow, Africa is that's a really, really cool question because it right away triggers something in, I would say, my subconscious. There was a time when I went through what many people call a spiritual awakening. Again, this was around the time when my son was born, where I really started to ask questions about my purpose on this planet. And I asked questions like, why am I here in America? Why was I born in New York? Why was I born to African parents? Why did I live in Nigeria? Why did I go through this journey? What is the purpose of it all? Why did this creator decide that I should be born as an African, living this experience in Africa and then living in America? What is the? I was looking for a pattern, looking for some kind of puzzle to solve, but then, which brings me to your question: what excites me about it is that Africa is not seen the way I see it. I see Africa as probably the most beautiful place that I've ever been. And Africa is also so diverse. I was speaking to a very good friend of mine, Miss Anna Lever. She is one of the coordinators for Afro Champions, and she broke it down to me in a very simple way. She said to really know Africa, I should choose a country in the north, a country in the south, a country in the west, and a country in the east, and possibly a country in the Central African region. And until I visit those regions, then I could have a better understanding of Africa. Because each time I go to these extremes of Africa, it's totally like a different world. The same central high energy of enthusiasm, of hospitality, of love, of great beauty still exists in all these countries, but in different dynamics, in different variations. What excites me most about Africa's future is that Africa is rising. Africa is waking up. We are realizing the great gifts and talents that we have in us. We're now looking at ourselves and practicing self-love. We're learning to love the way we are. We're learning to love our skin complexions, our beautiful hair, our awesome features. We're learning to embrace the way we were created, and we're embracing the gifts that have been deposited inside of us, and we're bringing them out. We're going to pull these gifts out and showcase these things to the world and solve problems across the entire planet, which will definitely help us rise to be the awesome creators that we have originally been designed to be from the beginning of time.
Wow, that was well said. Um, that was yeah, very awesome.
Thank you. Thank
Dang,
you.
yeah, I love what you said about you said Africa is not seen how I see it.
Mhm.
That's super powerful.
Yes. Yes.
And hopefully that will, it will change with all of
Yes.
our collective efforts.
Absolutely.
Wow. I mean, dang. Now I want to just drop everything I'm doing and just go back. Go back and, start, working on the continent. So yeah, definitely appreciate that. Definitely appreciate the
Oh, no
time.
worries. Thank you.
Yeah, really enjoyed this conversation, and
Same here.
yes, can't wait to share it and get people signed on to BomaLink and get people
Yes.
connecting, and we'll
Yes.
go from there. So
Absolutely. Thank you so very much.
thanks again for tuning in to episode 38 of the show. Be sure to check out BomaLink at bomalink.com and connect with me on BomaLink. I set up my profile. I, again, just need to go in there and update my profile, but be sure to connect with me. The link to that is in the description as well. And also learn about that really amazing sounding Afro Champions initiative. And that's the conference that Shola got to attend, and that's really what inspired BomaLink. So check that out as well, and the link to that is also in the show notes. Thanks for listening to Dear Diaspora. If you like what you hear, subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes. You can find us on Instagram at Dear Diaspora or visit our website at deardiasporashow.com. Thank you, and talk to you next week.